Welcome back to TradeBlocked, everyone. Brought to you by Club Fantasy. As you can see this evening, we have got a full crew here. We are going to have a great episode this evening. Week one is in the books. Lots to talk about, but I think one of the biggest things, which is our episode this evening, is discussing the whole situation between Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Since week one was not what everyone expected on that front. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of lively discussion about that this evening. But first, got to go around the horn and introduce everyone. You know me, I'm your host, Dustin. Over to my left on the screen, or right, I don't know which way I'm pointing here. We've got Hoov at the HoovTube. Joel is back from his hiatus at the Joel Worth. Welcome back, Joel. And then we've got a special guest this evening joining us, Jack at Jack Lucenay. Did I say that right? I should have checked beforehand.
You did. You got it right.
Batting 1,000. All right. Well, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on here. Should be a good one this evening. Let's go around the horn real quick. How's everyone doing? Jack, let's start with you since you are a special guest.
All right. Well, I'll apologize for my voice right off the bat because I am a little bit under the weather, but I'm still here to talk about some Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. But yeah, shout out to Dusty. I was just watching you actually with Jake a little bit earlier. So love what you guys do, but what I do is called The Worst, and it's you can find it just under my name over on YouTube.
Right on, right on. And Joel, how are you doing this evening? Welcome back.
Guess who's back?
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm very, very glad to be back. I wanted to say thank you to everyone for the well wishes. Had a very unfortunate family situation. But again, thank you to everyone. And very, very, very glad to be back.
And last and certainly not least, Hoov, how are you this evening?
Hey, I got two enemies of mine. I got foes in two different corners of the screen today. I got Joel and I got Jack coming at me today. I know it's going to be a lot of debates. This is the great debate everyone's been waiting months and months for. We're going to talk Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. So here at Club Fantasy, we got the greatest debate of all debates tonight. We got Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely. Let's go, baby.
Yes, exactly how we planned it in the off season here of Debate Night 2024 here. The two unlikely tight ends here. So let's get right into it. So we've got we'll talk Mark Andrews first here briefly. So Dynasty Nerds, he's currently the tight end 6 in Dynasty. How are we feeling about that? I mean, obviously, Hoov, if you want to let us know the 5 guys going ahead of him, I think we could probably figure that out on our hands since he's number 6. It's all the elite guys, but let us know here.
All right, 5 tight ends currently going above Mark Andrews. On Dynasty Nerds, we got Sam Laporta as tight end 1, Dalton Kincaid as tight end 2, Brock Bowers tight end 3, Trey McBride at tight end 4, and the infamous Kyle Pitts at tight end 5.
All right. Joel, I'm going to throw it to you first. Do you feel like this is fair value for Andrews in Dynasty?
I kind of squinted there because it's bizarre to me that Travis Kelce wouldn't be in that discussion or in the top 5. But setting that aside, since this is a Travis Kelce show, yeah, ballpark. That's probably about right. I would have Kelce ahead of Andrews. But yeah, I guess from a dynasty standpoint, I can see the rest of those guys going ahead of Andrews, but I can't imagine there being anyone else I would put in there ahead of him. So that's pretty close.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Jack?
I'm with Joel because the way I play Dynasty is in much shorter windows than I think the average Dynasty player. I play it a lot closer to redraft because so much changes year over year in the NFL. So I would actually still have Kelce probably in my top 5 because I foresee him being there at least for this year and next year. But as far as Mark Andrews' value, there's other guys that I think I prefer, and we can get into all of the reasons why. I might have him even a little bit lower on the list. I feel like now is a really bad time to be considering, trading him away if you are an owner because the vultures are going to be circling and kind of probably trying to lowball some offers right now. So I think the perceived value is lower than where he's actually ranking. But I think if you want to rank him anywhere between 6 and 8 right now, I'm fine with it. I would understand why.
Yeah, I think for me that it's a fair value, just given his age, and I can understand why people wouldn't have Kelsey there. But who do you disagree with either or any of us here on this?
I mean, the only thing that kind of stands out to me is Brock Bowers at tight end 3 already. Oh my goodness. I mean, over Trey McBride. Trey McBride's a baller. You know, we all know how I feel about Kyle Pitts, but you know, that's I feel like Brock Bowers might be a little bit more shocking than Kyle Pitts at tight end 5. But we kind of have to trust our partners over at Dynasty Nerds to know that they're the paid professionals. So them having this much youth in the top 5, I can't deny it, even as someone that would rather draft Mark Andrews currently, like Jack and Joel were alluding to about a shorter dynasty window, maybe waiting and maybe even capitalizing on Mark Andrews' short value that he has currently over someone like Kyle Pitts that you might have to wait a little bit longer. You know, you never know what his season's going to be. So I understand why the ranking is the way that it is. I don't know if currently, after seeing week 1, I would be a little bit more cautious about drafting Mark Andrews over Kyle Pitts, but the top 4 confidently I would take before them.
All right. So then who's going right after Mr. Andrews here, Hoov?
All right.
And maybe this will make things a little bit clearer.
So the top 5, or the bottom 5 tight ends going below Andrews currently on Dynasty Nerds: TJ Hawkinson at tight end 7, Travis Kelce at tight end 8, George Kittle at tight end 9, David Njoku at tight end 10, and Jake Ferguson at tight end 11.
All right. I'm going to leave it with you, Hoov. How are you feeling about these next 5 going right after Andrews here? And would you rank any of them ahead of him?
You know, actually, it's looking at the rest of the cast. I think that you got Travis Kelce lumps into the same tier as Mark Andrews, but with higher upside. George Kittle, you know, kind of like just with what we've seen with George Kittle, I think I still would take George Kittle over Mark Andrews. And then with someone like TJ Hawkinson, with him coming off an injury or still not playing, it's like with what we saw TJ Hawkinson last season, if he wouldn't have went down, he was on pace to be the dynasty tight end 1 over Sam Laporta. So it's like I still would think I would take TJ Hawkinson in a dynasty lens, absolutely before Mark Andrews. But like when you start looking at guys like David Njoku, who's now currently battling an injury, or Jake Ferguson, who's also battling an injury, it's you know, I think I'd still take Mark Andrews over those guys. But you know, those 2 are 2 names not to be slept on, and I could easily be wrong, and that they could both come back from injury and have a great season, and then Mark Andrews kind of gets eclipsed by Isaiah Likely. But still, I think I would take a shot on Mark Andrews over those guys.
Mm-hmm. And what say you, Joel, with these next 5?
So I think Kittle brings up the perfect analogy to what Jack was talking about earlier. It's that Andrews just turned 29, like literally last week. George Kittle is going to turn 31 in October, in a month from now. So he's right behind Andrews, but we're putting Andrews behind guys like Kincaid, who have never done it, even though he's still got a full 2-year window before he gets to Kittle's age. This dynasty tight end market makes 0 sense. If people are saying that they play in 2 and 3 year windows, they're full of shit, because there's no reason Laporta or Kincaid or any of these guys should be ahead of Bowers. I love Bowers, but he shouldn't be ahead of Andrews. That's insane. I mean, that's just absolute nonsense. Kelce should be ahead of him. No one else below him should be behind him, or should be ahead of him. No way.
Where I feel like Travis Kelce should be ahead of Kyle Pitts.
Travis Kelce should be the dynasty tight end 1, and he should be for the next 2 years.
Debate. There's no debate. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If only this was a Travis Kelce podcast.
There is a Travis
Jack?
Kelce podcast already.
I mean, where I take umbrage and issue, and Joel touched on it a little bit with the age argument for George Kittle, but the absolute disrespect to my guy Evan Ingram, who's literally just coming off back-to-back top 5 tight end seasons, can't even crack the top 11 on this list. You got TJ Hawkinson at 7. Your guys at Dynasty Nerds got some work to do. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. Where's Evan Ingram on this list? I'm appalled, honestly. But no, it's like he said, these are rankings for 5-year windows, because that's the only argument you could make to me of your draft taking Brock Bowers over guys that are established at the tight end position like Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Mark Andrews even. Now, I can see Mark Andrews potentially on the decline, but he's still, at this stage of his career, even going to be an elite tight end in the top 10 for the foreseeable future for the next, 2-3 years. And if he were to, move on to another team, which is something we could potentially discuss too, that value picks up probably. He is only 29 years old.
With the Evan Ingram comment, I'm going to add that I could confidently say that I believe that Evan Ingram will be above David Njoku and Jake Ferguson on this by the end of the year. That feels appropriate. Just with Njoku and Ferguson having setbacks already at the start of the year, and knowing what Evan Ingram's going to produce, I can kind of see where the analysts are ranking it and why they snubbed Evan Ingram, but at the same time, would I probably have done it myself? No, but I think I can see the ideology behind it. David Njoku, with everything that you saw to Deshaun Watson, David Njoku is probably the only thing that you can feel safe about in Cleveland right now. And I love Jerome Ford, but David Njoku is the safest pick there. And Jake Ferguson, with the red zone opportunity that he had beforehand, the youth that he had. I mean, obviously, Dustin and I are a little biased as Badger fans, but I could totally see Evan Ingram surpassing both of these guys.
Evan Ingram, just to get to his point real quick, he's like the perfect delineation between tight end premium and non-tight end premium, right? Because he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, but he gets a lot of pass volume. So he's much more valuable in a tight end premium setting. So I can see that if you're ranking these guys on, not as a non-tight end premium where touchdowns are more important, I can see Njoku and Ferguson being in there. But in a tight end premium, yeah, Jack's right. Evan Ingram should be way ahead of those guys.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So hopefully hopefully someone in the comment section drops an Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely inspired trade. But we do have plenty of people currently in the comments section. We got our friend Wendy. We got Gator up in here. How y'all doing? We got Albert. How y'all doing? All right, so let's move it along a little bit. So we just looked at the Dynasty Nerds ranking. Let's look at the sleeper rankings for him as well. Let me take that down. All right, so obviously we have him at tight end 3 on sleeper currently. Most drafts have wrapped up currently, but we're still going to use it at sleeper. I'm sure they'll update it throughout the year as well based off of performance. But currently, with going into the season, he was projected at tight end 3. So only people that they had before him going into the year was Travis Kelce at tight end 1 and Sam Laporta at tight end 2. So we talked about it briefly just a little bit earlier about Travis Kelce and Sam Laporta and where they rank amongst Mark Andrews. I feel like we all would feel confident drafting both of these guys over Mark Andrews after week 1, seeing the performance.
Yes, I'll say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, even before week 1, to be perfectly honest, I did a lot of best ball, and I had very little Mark Andrews. And besides the fact that he struggled with injuries last season, The whole thing, I don't feel like we ever got really super clear reports on the accident that he had and the injuries coming out of that and how that might have been affecting him coming into the season as well. And what I'm seeing is the lack of wide receivers that just continues to permeate the Baltimore Ravens locker room is affecting Mark Andrews kind of the same way we saw it start to affect Travis Kelce last year, where it's like, yeah, they're just going to do bracket coverage on Mark Andrews. And I watched all 11 of Isaiah Likely's targets. And I got to tell you, it scared the hell out of me for Mark Andrews, at least for this season, on a redraft, season long scale, because if he is struggling with injuries more than is being led on by NFL coaches, which is an obvious thing that they all do. I think we saw that with San Francisco,
Fake
which
news.
I think people were up in arms for. And I'm like, if you didn't already know that, it's like you haven't been watching the NFL for like, the last 100 years. So I don't know where you're like confused by they're not sharing their injury information like in any kind of truthful form or fashion. So it's like, yeah, Andrew's probably dealing with stuff that we don't even really know about, and then is also having to deal with bracket coverage. Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, and shout out to my guy, the Tez Walker that they drafted late. Like, they're not enough to pull attention away from Andrews. And what's happening is Isaiah Likely's just getting all these little out routes and option routes and screens and design screens, and they're coming out of 2 tight end sets, and he's the one bumping out into the slot. And Andrews is just kind of running these long posts, and it's like he's just the distraction factor right now. And I don't know how long that's going to last for this season. And I do think he's going to have games and it maybe gets better, and he'll have some open things open up, but Likely just looks so much more athletic too. Even like on his one touchdown, it was a long play on a broken play that Lamar was scrambling, and he was running. I don't know if it was a long in route or an out route, but either way, like he cut it upfield and then had to come back to the ball, catch it, like make guys miss. Like it was a whole thing for him to get that touchdown. And it's like Mark Andrews isn't doing that right now for this team. And he, again, it's just really like for redraft, I would already be hitting the panic button if I could maybe get out. We were talking about Dynasty, so it's like I feel a little bit differently about Dynasty, because I do think by the end of the season, you start to see a little bit more of old Mark Andrews, and we'll see how that goes into next year and what the Ravens decide to do with him and this offense. And he is only 29 years old. But yeah, for redraft this year, I wasn't really that in on it coming into the season, because I kind of, again, I wanted them to do more for the wide receiver room, and they just refuse. They continue to refuse to just add weapons to the wide receiver room for Lamar Jackson and also for Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I think you answered it properly. I mean, the one thing that stood out that I actually did want to point out is what I earlier said, that there's no debate about Travis Kelce and Sam Laporta, and you gave credit to Tez Walker, so it kind of gave me credit to give a little love to someone, Jeff Bell, that he tweeted earlier. I believe it was Jeff Bell, that he was talking about, good thing that Travis Kelce had that 20-yard gain. Otherwise, people would be hitting the panic button on him as well, like they are with Mark Andrews. And that's a very good point. I'm a little bit more hesitant on Mark Andrews, just seeing what Isaiah Likely is bringing to the table, like Jack alluded to and broke down for us. So Travis Kelce being the third receiving option in Patrick Mahomes' offense, obviously it's still Patrick Mahomes' offense. So being a third receiving option with the option, there's weeks that he's going to be the first receiving option. But overall, throughout the year, it seems like Travis Kelce is going to be somewhere between the 2 and 3 in that offense. So I think I would still be more in on Travis Kelce than it would be on Mark Andrews, but I wanted to correct my earlier statement before we moved on. Joel, anything to add?
So a couple things. To get into the sleeper rankings, I'll admit that Laporta probably has more dynasty value in the community at large than Andrews does, but I would rather draft Andrews at his ADP than I would Laporta. I don't share the fear with Andrews. I'm not concerned at all. So if anyone's scared, send him my way. If you're in a league with me and you're nervous about Mark Andrews, come talk to me, because I'm buying. I have zero concern. Yeah, we don't know what the injury with the accident was, but obviously it cost him some practice time, so he probably wasn't necessarily ready to go. I think it was Andy Holloway had a really good tweet thread about how Steve Spagnuolo has designed this kind of bracket coverage for Mark Andrews and has very successfully in the past kind of taken him out of the offense. But you have to have a really good pass rush, and you have to kind of blitz effectively to be able to make that work. So not every team is going to be able to do that. So I'm not concerned about Andrews whatsoever. I think it was just a function of him not practicing and just kind of not being up to speed after the car accident, whatever happened. I don't think, obviously it wasn't too serious because he was playing, but it did cost him some practice time. So he probably wasn't in game shape. So I'm not worried about that. And I'm not worried about Likely. As much as I like him, he's the wide receiver 2 in this offense, right? There's nothing. Rashad Bateman is dead. He's just dead. There's nothing there. Nelson Aguilar is whatever. He is the number, he's the number 3 target in this offense. So, but he's the wide receiver 2. That's the way you need to treat him. He is the wide receiver 2 in this offense. Andrews is the tight end 1, and that's the way it's going to go. And I have zero concern about Andrews. I think he's going to be fine. If you're concerned about him, I'm buying.
Let's scared money doesn't make money. That's the truth. But let's look at the people that are going underneath Andrews currently on Sleeper to see where he stands out amongst these guys. So Trey McBride at tight end 4, Dalton Kincaid tight end 5, George Kittle at tight end 6, Kyle Pitts at tight end 7, and Jack Sky, Evan Ingram at tight end 8. So if you're not worried about Mark Andrews, that's great. But seeing the upside of some of these other guys, wouldn't you feel more comfortable drafting one of these? If you could go back and turn back the clock, would you have rather had one of these guys and walking away on draft day than Mark Andrews?
I would still want Kittle and Pitts for sure. You could maybe talk me into Ingram and McBride, but McBride's the only one that now I'm maybe a little more hesitant than I was, because I was getting a lot of McBride, before the season started. Now I'm a little scared of it, to be honest. But the other ones I'm kind of in on above Mandrews.
Joel?
I think you can make an argument for Pitts. He had 100% route participation on Sunday. That's insane for a tight end. So he's going to be he's a focal point of that offense. So yeah, I think you can make that argument. I would flip McBride and Laporta, just because I think I like McBride's role in that offense more than Laporta. I think it's just going to be a much more kind of focused targetry. So those are the only 2 guys I would potentially take ahead of Andrews.
Yeah, the only one for me would be McBride here. I know he didn't show out the best here in week 1, but we did see in the second half he was getting a little bit more involved in that offense.
He got 9 targets.
So I like McBride for the season. He's probably the only one I'd take over Andrews. But Joel, I agree with you. I'm not concerned about Andrews for this season at all. I just take it as week 1. Kind of a fluky thing. I think Casey, they planned around him being their main target and made the concerted effort to take him out of the game plan. And that's what you saw. So it opened it up for Isaiah Likely. The Ravens ran 12 personnel 53% of the time. So, they had 2 tight ends on the field, over half their offensive snaps. So, yeah, at some point, Likely was going to get open, and Lamar just happened to catch him and find him. Happened to be a Likely week. It's not going to happen every single week this season. I'm not worried about it at all.
Well, you can give me the drama queen ribbon and give me the tiara, because I think, I have to stay consistent. And if I'm gonna hate on Kyle Pitts in the sense, coming into this year and saying, it's not that I think that he's going to have a terrible year. He can have a great year. He can just, other people can have a better year than what he's going to have. I have to say the same thing with Mark Andrews, and that I am very worried about Isaiah Likely coming in and taking up a big share of this offense from what they're going to have, So I have to stay consistent in the sense that I think I would drop him all the way to tight end 9 in redraft this year. I mean, because I still would take Evan Ingram as well. I mean, he's someone that when you're looking at Jacksonville's offense, I think that he's probably the one guy other than Christian Kirk that it's going to be like he's in the top 3. He's right around there, and that's the same share that you're going to get in Baltimore with Mark Andrews or even Travis Kelce, but it's still Patrick Mahomes' offense. That's why you're going to still take the chance on Travis Kelce. But with Mark Andrews, it's like they got Derrick Henry, they got Zay Flowers, they got Isaiah Likely, who can obviously be a huge part of that offense too. So I think that this year alone, I think I still would take Evan Ingram over Mark Andrews as well, but it'd be very, very close.
Okay. Before we move on to really dig into Isaiah Likely, we do have a question in the chat here I'd like for us to bring up. This comes from Discord. I have Chris Olave. Is it time to panic and try to use him and Aaron Jones to get a better wide receiver, one of the elite ones like Chase, and grab a lesser valued RB2? Jack, let's start with you and your thoughts on this one.
I mean, yes, but also no, if that makes sense. So it's like I'm not panicking on Chris Olave. It's not me saying like panic on Chris Olave. The Saints were playing the Panthers. They didn't need to do a whole lot. So I'm not panicking on Chris Olave. But anytime you tell me, Jack, take this, kind of like lower tier wide receiver one and a running back or whatever piece you need to do and go get Jamar Chase or just as like one of the top 5 wide receivers in the game, yeah, I'm gonna do that almost every single time. And then I'll grab the lesser valued, like I'll grab the plug and play RB2s. I'm totally fine with that. Condensing value is just a way that I often play the game. So again, if you're saying to me like I can trade Chris Olave and Aaron Jones for a Jamar Chase or off the back of his big game AJ Brown or off the back of his not big game Amon-Ra St. Brown, like give me one of those crazy wide receivers for the rest of the season, yeah, I'm doing that 9 times out of 10, unless it's like some crazy deep league where it's like really going to expose me. Like the RB2 is Khalil Herbert, like that's the only way where I'm like, okay, now we are being unreasonable. But like in most leagues, like 10 to 12, even maybe 14 teams, like I'm doing that every time.
Yeah, how about you, Joel? Is it time to panic on Olave based on this 1 week here we had?
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with Jack here. If you can get Chase for Olave and Aaron Jones, go ahead and do it. But yeah, I only see that happening in like some kind of niche league. I don't see that happening in a normal 12-team league. I have zero concern about Olave. Like the first rule of week 1 is weird shit happens on week 1 all the time. Don't freak out about it. Like, yeah, it sucks because we've been waiting, and now it comes and they score 47 points and he only got 2 catches and. Yeah, it's going to be fine. They're going to be fine. They're like the game was non-competitive, so they didn't have to use him, like Jack said. So, yeah, do not freak out about Olave. He's going to be fine. He's still going to be the focal point of that offense. There's going to be games that are going to be competitive, and they're going to need him starting this week when they go to Dallas. So, zero concern about Olave.
Okay, you see, look, everyone, Club Fantasy is a 5. This is a positive atmosphere. And there's no room for hating at all. But your time to panic on Chris Olave was the minute that the Saints signed Derek Carr. That was the moment that you should have started worrying about Chris Olave and his dynasty value. I mean, like I love the talent that Chris Olave is. It really comes down to team and just value alone based off of where he's currently going. I have never drafted Chris Olave. Until things change and he gets priced more appropriately, I can't see myself talking myself into Chris Olave. It seems like the see, I like Terry too, so I don't want to talk bad on Terry's name, but it's almost like what we were doing for Scary Terry and DJ Moore for years is we were drafting them based off of what we were hoping that they were going to provide, and they always would let us down. And so I feel like Chris Olave is just the next DJ Moore. He's the next Scary Terry, and that he's just going to be someone that everyone just kind of projects when they're on draft day and they're pressing Chris Olave's button. It's like there's going to be someone else, or at least 5 other guys around that range that probably are going to outproduce him until things change. I mean, Alvin Kamara is someone that I was betting on, and I still feel great on Alvin Kamara going into the rest of the season. Some people differ in that opinion. I think that those people are going to be wrong at the end of the year. So we'll see who's right, but I think that Alvin Kamara is actually the focal point of this offense until further notice.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I am not panicking about Chris Olave, but I agree that if you can use him and another piece to trade up and tier up into a higher level wide receiver 1, you should definitely do that. That's just a smart move. But if you can't make it happen, I personally wouldn't worry about Chris Olave. This week was a fluke.
I don't know about that. Let's focus on the most important thing with the Saints offense, okay? Go out on a positive note with this Chris Olave comment, okay? When we saw with what Juwan Johnson did and what Foster Moreau did, wait until Dallin Holker takes the field. I am so excited about Dallin Holker now. Like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be a little Taysom Hill to Dallin Holker action, baby. Boom. And that's going to be one of the greatest dynasty calls I've ever had. Undrafted. Oh man, I'm so excited for Dallin Holker, but that's besides the point. We still got so much to talk about when it comes to Isaiah Likely as well and his value and who we would draft on. So let's go back to our friends and our partners over at Dynasty Nerds, and let's look at who Isaiah Likely is currently going above. So, and Dynasty Nerds, Isaiah Likely is finishing right outside the top 12 in most formats. That would be, the number 1 bench spot for tight ends. I think it's the Kyle Pitts spot in most cases, but that's just me hating, I guess. But 5 tight ends currently above Isaiah Likely's ranking on Dynasty Nerds. We got Travis Kelce at tight end 8, George Kittle at tight end 9, David Njoku at tight end 10, Jake Ferguson at tight end 11, and Jack Sky, Evan Ingram at tight end 12. So I was right in the sense that I thought that Evan Ingram was like right behind him, and he's going to finish right above him by the end of the year confidently. So at least I wasn't far off in that. Jack, let me know. Is there any of these guys that you would take Isaiah Likely over in Dynasty?
No. I want to be brave, but I'm not the bold. I'm never really that bold when it comes to Dynasty. I feel like I'm a little bit more of a traditionalist. Like, I would take the 2 years of Travis Kelce. I still love George Kittle and his connection with Brock Purdy. I mean, Njoku is the only one that gave me cause for pause, but that's only because of how much I hate Deshaun Watson. And I was really into Fergie-licious before he got injured, and I love Evan Ingram. That's my guy. So, again, the only one that gave me cause for pause was David Njoku. And again, I feel like I'm just taking out on him the fact that Deshaun Watson is his quarterback, because if it was Jameis Winston for the whole year, I would feel a lot different.
I don't think you're going to get any flashback or any debate on that. Joel?
I've been a huge Isaiah Likely groupie all off season. He was my number 1 drafted best ball player by quite a bit. He had him 31% exposure. So yeah, I've been all over him. Sicoli and I talked on the Dynasty show that we liked last year. We thought Andrews and Likely would be the best tight end pairing since Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. I think we were a year early on that, but I still think I think that could come to fruition eventually. I'm absolutely taking him over Njoku and Ferguson. Those guys are both going to miss the next 6 weeks at least, probably, and probably be hindered when they get back. Ferguson is a touchdown-only player. That's his only real value. So in any kind of tight end premium, I'm taking Likely ahead of him. His value is only in the offense that he plays and that he's going to score a bunch of touchdowns. And Njoku, I liked a lot, but I'm with Jack. That offense just right now scares the crap out of me with Deshaun Watson. So unless and until he's gone and Jameis Winston gets in there and David Njoku gets healthy, I'm taking Likely ahead of him. I would take Likely ahead of Kittle. I think there's that. I think he's going to be that much more involved in this offense than Kittle will be in San Francisco's.
Look,
I think he'll be a more consistent player.
I hate that. I'm just gonna. That's the only thing on my heart that I just needed to get that off. I needed to get that out there. As soon as you said it, I hate that. That feels gross just listening to it. I'm sorry to all the viewers out there that had to hear that. That feels dirty. That feels naughty. But Dustin, do you agree with him?
I think I do. I mean, Likely's on the last year of his contract, or next year's the last year of his contract with Baltimore. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to extend him and keep him around. But I think if he hits the free agent market, he can make an immediate impact on another squad, and he would jump up in the dynasty rankings significantly. So just with that potential alone, I could see him, in that whole range there with Kelsey, Kittle, right around tight end 8, 9. But again, it's kind of dependent on what happens after this rookie contract. If he stays with Baltimore and they end up keeping Andrews, and they, share the squad together, I think it depresses both of their value because Likely's obviously he's ascending and really just coming into his own. So I guess I'm just kind of hedging my bets a little bit here.
I hate it in the sense that I'm very biased. As a 49ers fan, I love George Kittle. That's my guy. But, oh, man, I wish I was there because I understand your point. There's a lot of things I hate that I can understand the point of. I can't stand it. So I think that's one of the things. But when Josh is doing the playback, I think that he needs to talk about the fact that means that if you would rather have him over Jake Ferguson, David Njoku, and George Kittle, that means that you have Isaiah Likely as a top 10 dynasty tight end. So if people are going to go out and listen to Joel, that means that you should be heavily going out and trying to get as much Isaiah Likely as possible.
Likely had 12 targets week 1. George Kittle never had that many last year. He had 2 games with double-digit targets.
Like I said, I understand the point. I'm not there yet. Maybe we'll get there, but it's gonna take a lot, and I'll be rooting for Isaiah Likely to do it and to get me there, but I'm not there yet. I could see myself being there by the end of the season.
To Joel's point, after I did the study on Isaiah Likely's week 1 game tape, I went and increased every single one of my fab bids that I had in on Isaiah Likely, because I actually think he has more value in the system with Mark Andrews. Like, you need Mark Andrews playing at the position that he's playing for Isaiah Likely to be able to kind of just leak out on these little out routes and just get peppered right away by Lamar Jackson for cheap targets and production. And Mark Andrews is the one kind of pulling the defense down the field on these longer post routes, or otherwise, has his hand in the dirt in these 2 tight end sets. And Isaiah Likely is, leaking out weak side or doing all these things where if he was the tight end 1, whoever the new tight end 2 would become for Baltimore would be the guy assigned to that role. And so, again, it's like Isaiah Likely's window of opportunity really exists right now with a healthy but not fully involved Mark Andrews and a just complete lack of reliable wide receivers, except for Zay Flowers, living in Deutschland.
Safe Flowers is going to be
Mhm.
awesome this year. That's That's
Greg
my
Dortch
biggest
plus.
takeaway.
That's what he is for this offense. He is just Greg Dortch plus.
Ooh, I wouldn't.
Sorry to tell you.
That's a hill I wouldn't die on. But let's take a look.
I think he's talented, but the way they use him in the offense, he is Greg Dortch plus.
I think he's a Monroe St. Brown for that offense, but we differ in opinion, So 5 tight ends currently that are going underneath Isaiah Likely currently on Dynasty Nerds. Based off of your guys' opinions about the guys above him, I don't know if I'm going to talk you into drafting any of these guys over Isaiah Likely, but we should probably do it for the audience's sake. So 5 tight ends going below Isaiah Likely. Ben Sinnott, tight end 14. Dallas Goedert, tight end 15. Pat Freiermuth at tight end 16. Cole Kmet at tight end 17. And Dalton Schultz at tight end 18. So that kind of felt gross, honestly, just saying all those names in a row at the same time. But we had to get it out there. We had to say it. Is there any of these guys that you would take over Isaiah Likely?
Hard no.
Absolutely not.
Can I just take a moment though to crap on Dallas Goedert? Because every moment that I can to hate on Dallas Goedert, the most mid tight end that's ever existed in the history of fantasy football. This man's never had more than 5 touchdowns in his entire career. Can't even top 60 receptions, so he's not even really valuable in a tight end preem. Like, what are we doing with Dallas Goedert? This guy's just a name on a team.
Dallas Goedert's the original Isaiah Likely.
No, he's so mid. He's so mid.
Debate me on it. Say something.
I get what you mean because Zach Ertz was there at the time, but neither Zach Ertz nor Dallas Goedert are as talented.
He benefited from Zach Ertz being there. It added so much. Same thing. No. I mean, same thing. It's the truth. As soon as Zach Ertz is gone, Dallas Goedert flashes and he gets injured. We haven't seen the same Dallas Goedert since, but the offense also has changed a lot since then. So I used to really like Dallas Goedert, and then the whole offense changed, and obviously the value on him dynasty wise never adapted to that. So I haven't been a Dallas Goedert guy in a long time, but it's not like I hate the player. It's just the value for me. I'm surprised I didn't hear anything so far about Ben Sinnott or Pat Freiermuth.
I was about to say I love the Senator, but he's a fullback who can't beat out Zach Ertz in this holy year of 2024. So, I mean,
they're trying to bide some time.
Yeah, Zach Ertz, man. He was the guy until he got hurt. So maybe he's still just hashtag good at football.
And there's no arguing that Zach Ertz is a dog. Whenever he's fully healthy, that's a player that I don't think anyone should be debating on. It's one of those sneaky picks that you're not going to take Zach Ertz at his current age and opportunity with Washington over some of these guys, but still a dog, still could put up great season, just probably not a top 10 season or anything worth starting except on bye weeks. But keep your eye on someone like Zach Ertz for sure. So let's move things over to Sleeper.
Real quick before we go.
Oh, okay.
If this is what comes after Likely, then this is the definition of a tear gap, a massive tear gap.
Absolutely.
Ben Sinnott's an H-back. Dallas Goedert sucks. Jack pointed it out perfectly. Pat Freiermuth sucks. He's never done anything. Cole Kmet is the tight end 2 on his own team behind Gerald freaking Everett. He got like 5 routes on Sunday. And Dalton Schultz is just like older Jake Ferguson. This is a terrible list. These guys don't belong in the same stratosphere as Isaiah Likely. Not even close.
To put it better.
I'm the Steelers fan.
I'm clipping that.
I want to agree on Pat Freiermuth. Like, I love the Muth for our team, but as far as a fantasy tight end, he's useless. He's even more useless with Arthur Smith.
I'm still kidding. He said freaking sucks.
These guys are
I get it.
Right?
It's Jane Walters.
If these guys are your tight end 1, you're losing. You're absolutely losing.
Okay, I'm clipping that. That's probably my favorite part of this episode so far. So let's move over to Sleeper, because maybe it'll be a little closer in value than our partners have them over at Dynasty Nerds. 5 tight ends currently going above Isaiah Likely on Sleeper, which means for redraft rest of the season, would you take any of these guys? Oh, okay. Cole Kmet at tight end 13, Pat Fryermuth at tight end 14, Luke Musgrave at tight end 15, Penn Sonata at tight end 16, and Cade Otten at tight end 17. So I'm gonna guess this is a hard no as well, based off of the replies earlier. You know, the fact that Sleeper hasn't fixed this and they haven't corrected it and have him valued this late, that was something that I really hope that you were someone like Joel that you heavily capitalize on this offseason. So I don't think there's any debate on that.
Just for the sake of argument, can we see the 5 after?
Let's do it. Oh, this is just gross. This is even worse.
This is more for comedy now.
All right. Hunter Henry at tight end 19. Tyler Conklin, tight end 20. Oh, I don't know why Tyler Conklin's in there twice. Tyler Conklin twice. That's great. Chig Okonkwo at Noah Fant at tight end 23. Let me pull up to see who it was. That's on me. I'm the one that does this. A little behind the curtain. So
everybody talked up Noah Fant this year, but they got rid of all the Will Disleys and all that crap, and how he had the tight job to himself. 4 targets, 2 catches, 11 yards. Just as the guy is a 0. He's a nothing burger. He's a combine warrior. That's all he's ever been. He is trash. If you wasted a pick on him, sorry about your damn luck. There's nothing there.
Gino had a low passing game. He only had 171 yards passing, so I don't think he could throw that all on Noah.
The only tight end on that list that should even be rostered is Hunter Henry, and that's only because the Patriots are just terrible, and he will have serviceable games.
I figured it out. Sorry, that was random as shit. Okay. Mike Gesicki was the tight end 23 that I was missing.
Oh,
so obviously Isaiah
Likely for 12 yards. Good times.
Yeah.
Hey, I bet on Mike Gesicki. This is a sensitive subject. He cost me with the Patriots plus 7.5 that I bet on. I tried parlaying it with Mike Gesicki revenge touchdown. Didn't go through.
These lists are so bad. I would take Colby Parkinson over all the guys on this list and all the guys on the list before, honestly. Except for it's look, whatever fab is going to get spent on Isaiah Likely is going to be enormous. And there's a good chance that you won't be the person that gets him. If you want just a good little bonus prize, instead, go get Colby Parkinson if he's out there.
Yeah.
I'll just say there are 0 dynasty leagues that I'm in that Isaiah Likely is available.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot of redraft leagues I'm in that Isaiah Likely is available.
Everyone has an Isaiah Likely stand in their league at this point, which shows you that people are in on it. So let's talk about some dynasty trades when it comes to
Hoov,
Archangels.
Before we get to that, we got a couple questions in the chat I'd like us to get to here. So first one here from Quentin says, what should we do with Olave and London? I have both on my dynasty team. And I know we discussed Olave a little bit, so maybe we can tell Quentin to go back, rewind a little bit in the episode to hear our thoughts about Olave. But what about London? And Joel, I'm going to start with you on this one.
A little nervous about London just because Kirk Cousins is obviously limited. He's not 100%. I don't think they're going to go too long, right? If he's not back in the swing of it, they're going to go to Penix. So I'm not too worried about London, just because I think there's a backstop there. And if Cousins can't get his stuff together fairly quickly, I think they'll make a switch, if only temporarily.
Jack?
Thoughts and prayers. I mean, you're gonna definitely eat some L's because there's gonna be weeks that these guys don't show up, but they're both extremely talented. I'm not as worried about Cousins, I think, only because I know the Steelers defense is still, top 5 when TJ Watt is playing, and anyone would have looked bad against that defense. So I want to see him against not a bad defense, but like more of like a mid-tier defense before I really kind of cast my aspersions on how healthy he is, and also give him a couple weeks to kind of get into the swing of things. But I mean, with the Falcons as much as with the Jets, it's like every game that these guys just survive right now is gravy. And, you know, if you can win some games along the way, fantastic.
Yeah, we can't forget that this was the Arthur Smith revenge game, so Pittsburgh had a little extra juice going on. But
Yeah.
Hoov, do you agree with Joel and Jack here?
Quentin, have you by chance heard the Nickelback song "Burn It to the Ground"? Because that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I'd want that stink off my team when it comes to Chris Olave, and I'm not a Drake London guy, but I would want. Those are two guys that I know that there's so much value, that there's other people out there that are big on them, that I'm definitely going to capitalize on that. I'm going to trade those two for as much draft compensation as possible, and even possibly trying to get some draft compensation, and even adding a young wide receiver on that I believe in on top of it. So, you know, after week one, it's limited how many young wide receivers I'm optimistic on, but you know, it's only week one. But let's take a look at another one that we got in the comment section.
Yeah, so this one comes from Parker. Should I accept this trade? I get JT and I trade HN.
Yes.
Nope. No.
I'm very torn. I like Jonathan Taylor a lot, but I'm probably keeping A-Chain.
For what is it? Like, is it that I'm gonna let's go. Let's say redraft, rest of the season.
So I'm saying,
HN's injured.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Joel, why the debate?
I love Jonathan Taylor as much as anyone. I'm a huge Badger fan. I watched every snap when he was at Wisconsin. There's no way I would trade him. I would trade HN to get Jonathan Taylor. Zero. HN can win leagues by himself. I'm not worried about this. I don't think he's really hurt. I think he's just kind of nicked up. He had seven catches for 75 yards, had a touchdown inside the goal line. He had the touchdown that Raheem Mostert got last year. He is the lead back there as long as he's healthy. And if he takes that role, he is a league winner. There's no way I'm trading him. Not
my only real hesitation, honestly, is the idea that if Anthony Richardson were to get injured again and old man Flacco comes in, like suddenly I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor a lot different. But with Anthony Richardson in and all things being equal, like, yeah, I agree with Joel that I would prefer A-Chain in most circumstances.
I think the safer pick is JT 100%. There's way too
safer pick, but I'm playing to win.
Safety, you can win a lot of things by being safe. You could drive to work every day safe, and that's success. You can there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that you could be safe on. But one of the things would be drafting JT, and I guarantee there's going to be a lot of people that win their leagues with Jonathan Taylor on their roster the rest of the season. Is there anything else we got in the comment section?
Not really a question, but Vince says, I traded Fant to a tight end desperate team recently for a mid-second. Just want to call that out because that is a great trade.
Winning.
I traded my 2025 second in a Dynasty league for Greg Dulcich last year, and I felt like that was a win. So things change. You know, things change very fast. I ended up flipping Greg Dulcich in a trade recently on that same team for TJ Hawkinson with a bunch of other assets as well. So, yeah, that's a great trade. Is there anything else we got?
Nope, that was it. We cleared out the chat. Do you want to hit some trades here real quick here? We are coming up on an hour, but I think we should give some trades if we've got them.
Let's do it. We got we got a Mark Andrews trade, and then we got an Isaiah Likely trade. So we'll cover both of them for our audience tonight. So which side for these? I think that it's just better to say that most of them are going to be tight end premiums, just so we can get as much value as possible, and we can get an even indicator on that. Which side, tight end premium, Mark Andrews or 2025 first? Start with Dustin.
Give me Andrews pretty easily.
Joel?
Andrew's not close.
I'm never the draft pick guy, and I still won't be here. I'm going to take Mark Andrews, but it is closer for me than it was for Joel.
I'm going to be the negative Nancy here, and I'm going to say no, just because I'd be interested to see who else I could get for 2025 first for the tight end position. Like if it was a 2026 first, I would be absolutely no. I'm way too big on that draft class. But this next draft class, I think that you could talk me into investing into a high-end tight end for that draft class. So I would kind of put out some feelers before I would accept this trade. It would kind of get me on the right direction for trading for a first for a tight end, but I don't know if Mark Andrews would be the solution in that sense. Isaiah Likely is real. Anything else?
All right. No,
All right.
hit us with the next one.
Which side, tight end premium, Isaiah Likely, or two seconds, 2025 second and 2026 second? Jack.
Yeah, this is easily Likely for me.
Joel?
Yeah, I'm going to say Likely as well.
Easily Likely, yeah, for sure.
And that's where I think the people need to think about the whole Mark Andrews 2025 first. It's like, would you rather split that value and go after Isaiah Likely, or would you rather invest heavily into Mark Andrews? I think that Isaiah Likely, that's a better bang for your buck. Going after 2 seconds, it's basically 2 shots for an opportunity to get someone like Isaiah Likely. So, someone's going to try to get Isaiah Likely for 1 second. Those trades are never going to go through, and if they do, please screenshot. Please screenshot after this game. After this game, if anyone trades Isaiah Likely for 1 second in your Dynasty League, please screenshot it and tag Club Fantasy and tag me, because I want to see it from my own eyes, because I don't believe it's going to happen. So I think that it's basically like would you rather have a car, or would you rather have opportunity in a car or a boat? Would you rather have a boat or what could be a boat? That's basically what you're doing with Isaiah Likely. Second round picks, just have a 50-50 shot, probably even less than that, on who's actually produced at a high end level in fantasy football that come out of the second round. So you're getting 2 shots of someone like with the upside of Isaiah Likely that he's showing currently. So I think I'd take Isaiah Likely instead of the 2 seconds.
I have a Dynasty League where I have both Andrews and Likely, and I'm looking at these right now. If you sent me this trade for Likely, I would laugh it off. But that trade for Andrews, the fact that I already have Likely, I'm honestly like, should I go start shopping Andrews for a first round pick next year? Like,
bingo. See,
now you got me thinking here.
That's what I mean. Like, is it time? I'm also the same person that going into this year, I was telling people, hey, obviously Josh Allen's going to be great for a few years, but is it time to start looking at it like, hey, maybe we should start looking at him like, if I can find a trade that gets me a Jaden Daniels or a Caleb Williams with a few assets, is it time to trade Josh Allen? It's like the same thing. Like, I think Mark Andrews is going to be great, but this is the time that we see the opportunity for Isaiah Likely to take over. We better be safe than sorry and start getting rid of some of those Mark Andrews shares. If you're someone like me that you really like Mark Andrews, you probably heavily invested in him in a lot of your leagues. So maybe drop down, from a 20% share of Mark Andrews to a 15% share or a 10% share. Start making those moves. Don't get burnt and have way too much on Mark Andrews is all I'm trying to say here. So
I think that's fair. So we got
maybe
one more question here in.
Oh, go ahead.
In the chat. Sorry, cut you off here. So we got another one here in the chat. This is, who should I try to trade Neighbors or Ayuk for? And this is redraft 12 team Superflex.
I think you're fine with Ayuk. I would would wait that one out. That one just seems like, he has a little bit of rust from sitting out the off season. That'll figure itself out by the middle of the year for sure. Might be a few rough week or two. Malik Neighbors, though, is someone that I saw what everyone was saying. I just thought what he brought to the offense is that they were going to have to double him and that it was going to open up a lot for Wan'Dale Robinson. So I think you could talk me into, if you're going to need to make a move, I'd probably trade Malik Neighbors over Brandon Ayuk. Let's go around and I'll think of a Neighbors trade before we get to end this.
Trade him for Isaiah Likely.
Oh, Jesus.
No, I'm messing around. Don't do that.
So, Jack, what are your thoughts about either trying to trade Neighbors
Yeah, I
or
mean,
Ayuk, and who would you trade him for in a redraft league?
the answer is I wouldn't. I don't trade just to trade. Those are good players. I mean, Neighbors, you could talk me into being, maybe I'm worried because Daniel Jones is atrocious. The only thing uglier than the Giants uniforms on Sunday was the play of Daniel Jones. So, I could understand being nervous about Malik Neighbors and potentially wanting to trade him, but it's like, he's a rookie. He'll have games. He'll get better. And I think you'll be able to get even more value if you just wait a couple weeks, honestly, and let him have, he's got a decent matchup coming up this week against the Manders. Trade him next week after he's got maybe a blow-up game against the Commanders under his belt. But unless you're really hurting for a running back, I wouldn't necessarily be trying to trade either of these players. They're still going to be good depth pieces. He did mention Superflex. So unless maybe you're the Jordan Love manager also, and now you're staring down the barrel of, I desperately need a quarterback and I have this excess of wide receivers, and that's maybe the line of thinking there. Well, that's fine. I would target a guy like a Jared Goff, or, I mean, it's going to be harder to get a Dak Prescott, but that kind of, you're not going to be able to get the elite guys, but you can maybe jump down to that next lower tier of guys and, maybe trade for one of them in a bit of a package swap. But again, I wouldn't necessarily be oh, I have to trade these guys away.
I'm going to recede my comment about trading Malik Neighbors actually after looking at Sleeper, because you're going to have to compensate that if you're going to trade Malik Neighbors, that your league mate's going to believe is under the mindset that you're giving up on him, on that player, the rest of the year, and that you think that they're going to have a drop off. So you're almost going to have to go to the next tier. And the tier underneath Malik Neighbors, there's nobody. I mean, I don't think that anyone's going to trade you Rashee Rice for Malik Neighbors at this point. I feel like he's already surpassed, even though a Sleeper has him still way too undervalued. No one's going to do that. So the people that you possibly could talk yourself into is Jaden Reed, but even I don't know if I want to invest in Jaden Reed until Jordan Love gets back. So even then, that's probably another person I wouldn't trade Malik Neighbors for, or even someone that Jack and I have a history of talking about, Ladd McConkey. I mean, even Ladd McConkey, he's increased his value in my eyes a ton after week one, just based off of a bunch of wide receivers in that tier difference between him and Malik Neighbors in the bottom end of the elite guys. I see him making his way up that tier. So, but I don't know if I'm there yet to say, okay, I'm going to give up on Malik Neighbors this year for Ladd McConkey, even though I understand why people could make an argument for it. So I think that I would honestly write it out. If it came down to wide receiver for wide receiver with Malik Neighbors, I'd write it out the rest of the year. But there are plenty of running backs that maybe you could trade Malik Neighbors for. Maybe trade Malik Neighbors for Ramondre Stevenson that we talked about heavily on the show. After his week one performance, maybe investing in him, and trading for a running back that has a lot of a need at their position. So that's probably my best idea for a Malik Neighbors trade, but I wouldn't trade him for a wide receiver. No. Anything else?
Let's do quick fire on this one. Just one answer or the other.
Okay.
Should I trade my brand muffin for a blueberry one? I'm feeling a bit frisky today.
Oh yeah, blueberry all the way.
Smash.
I don't like blueberries personally, so I'll stick with the plain brand.
All right, I'm gonna stay blueberry. So you're outnumbered there, Jack.
Best question.
Let's let's do one more trade each for Andrews and Likely here, so we get a little bit better idea of value, and then I think we can head out for the evening.
All right. Which side, Mark Andrews or Luke Musgrave in a 2025 second?
Andrews
easily. I want to like
Andrews.
Musgrave just likes like the typical tight end who's going to take 3 years to develop. And
Musgrave is ironically enough, he's Hayden Hurst in this offense, and it's actually Tucker Kraft is Mark Andrews. So yeah, if this was Tucker Kraft in a 2025 second, no, I still would say no. It would still be Mark Andrews.
What if it was Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, and a 2025 second? Basically,
make that deal till Love comes back.
Basically, it'd be like this.
Hilarious. I would still go with Mark Andrews.
Would this change your guys' mind? A tight end premium, Mark Andrews for Ben Sinnott and two second rounders.
I really like the Senator. Like I think I might be the highest on Ben Sinnott, and I'm like, he is a fullback. Like that's what he's a fullback that sometimes plays tight ends. He's Kyle Juszczyk, doing a facsimile of a tight end out here. It's I don't know, and this isn't the offense where I trust him to actually get used properly. Like this isn't the Saints using Taysom Hill. This isn't a Shanahan offense. Like this is Cliff Kingsbury. That's why Zach Ertz is in the lineup.
Okay. All right. Let's do one more Isaiah Likely one to end it off, and then we'll talk about our fantastic partners. Which side, Isaiah Likely in a 2025 second or Kyle Pitts?
You finally got me to say not Isaiah Likely.
Let's go. All right. Yeah. Break it down for us, Jack. Quick one.
And I'm not even the Kyle Pitts guy, but I'll tell you what. I ate off Kyle Pitts last year. Like my best segment for my show was who scored more than Kyle Pitts this week. And we even had one at the end of the year where we did a whole poem that was like to the tune of the Christmas Carol thing. So it was great. But that was when Arthur Smith was in town. Arthur Smith runs the highest percentage of two tight end sets in the NFL. Kyle Pitts was a square peg in a round hole in that offense. It was never going to work. As soon as they brought in 3/4 of the Rams coaching staff and Kirk Cousins, I was like, yeah, I'm in on this. He did have 1,000 yards and only one touchdown as a rookie. He is an uber talented. And yeah, I think we will see the emergence of Kyle Pitts finally this year.
Joel?
We did a Kyle Pitts show. Everyone knows how much I love him. I said it earlier, 100% route participation week one as a tight end. That's insane. It would have to be a first at an underlikely to even get me to consider trading Kyle Pitts.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Kyle Pitts all the way.
And I love Likely, so this would hurt, but yeah, it's Kyle Pitts all the way.
And even as the Kyle Pitts non-fan here on this platform, I think I'd still take Kyle Pitts over Isaiah Likely for 2025 second. And just because I know the value that Kyle Pitts fans hold in their hearts, I could easily get it in a year from now as well. Even if he doesn't perform this year, people like Joel are going to talk themselves into Kyle Pitts next year as well. So I think
Kirk Cousins wasn't 100%.
Damn it, man. Okay, so let's break it down for us. Dustin, can you want to tell everyone all about our fantastic partners over at Dynasty Nerds?
I would love to. Do you want to take your Dynasty teams to a championship? Do you want to stack championships for years to come? Then you need to hear about Club Fantasy's newest partnership, Dynasty Nerds. Dynasty Nerds is one of the most trusted sources for both Dynasty advice and Dynasty tools. Their Nerd Score helps identify rookies with high ceilings and longevity to keep you in contention for years. If what you're looking for is film on incoming rookies, then look no further than their All 22 film room. They even have a Dynasty trade calculator that can help you find values throughout the season and better understand how to value players across an ever-changing landscape. And these are just a few of the tools that they offer. Just head to dynastynerds.com to see for yourself. Choose from one of their subscription plans, and at checkout, enter the code Club Fantasy, one word, to save 15% off your subscription. Once again, go to dynastynerds.com and use the promo code Club Fantasy to get 15% off.
That was lovely. So we also have great partners over at TrophySmack. Do you want to tell everyone about that as well?
I would love to.
Do we have it?
With my screen here is. I don't have it, unfortunately. Bad show.
That's all right. That's all right. Make sure you guys head over to TrophySmack.com/Women of Fantasy Football, WOFF, and start shopping. Promo code Women of Fantasy, like Joel has right there. Great product. We got a lot of people over at TrophySmack. They do fantastic work, and they really personalize all you guys' fantasy football needs. For all your league winners, for all your league losers, for all the people that you want to ridicule and mock at the end of the year for doing a terrible, terrible job. They got all the fun stuff for that, as well as the people that you want to celebrate with an absolute dominant season. So make sure you guys head over to TrophySmack.com/WAF and start shopping.
Oh, great save there, Hoov. Thank you for not making me look overly foolish on that. And with that, make sure you are checking out all of the shows under Club Fantasy's banner. Monday, you've got Mocking with the Stars. Tuesday, you've got the Masterclass, and you've got us with TradeBlocked, new night. On Wednesdays, it's the Women of Fantasy Football. And also the flagship show, No Pun Intended. On Thursdays, you've got Mock Girl Summer. On Friday, you got Mock It Like It's Hot. And on Sunday, you've got the Dynasty After Party. Be sure you're checking out all those shows. Make sure you are following and subscribing to Club Fantasy at Club Fantasy FFL and the Women of Fantasy Football at women_FF on Twitter. Yeah. And make sure you're following all four of us for great fantasy advice. Big shout out to Jack. Thanks for coming on the show. It was great having you here this evening. You are welcome back anytime, sir, to give your unbelievable fantasy takes.
I had a few Club Fantasy subscribers reach out to me on Saturday night, asking start-sit questions for the weekend. So thank you all so much for all you guys do, for coming and subscribing and checking out the show. Make sure you guys, go ahead and reach out to all of us for all your questions for Sunday. We're here to help. We're here to help you guys dominate your guys' leagues and win all those fantasy championships. So the offer extends to each and every one of you. You guys can always go ahead and find us at FFDustyDog, at HoofTube, at The Joel Worth, and at Jake Lucenay. Go ahead and reach out to us, and we will break it down for you as easily as we possibly can. So, Jack, thank you so much. Joel, we are happy that you are back, my friend. And Dustin,
glad to be back.
It's always great to see you, my handsome friend. So,
thank you for that. And thanks for everyone in the chat joining us. Make sure you're joining us every single week. We will answer any of your start, sit, trade questions, waiver wire questions here. Since we are the early show of the week here on Tuesdays, you can get a jump on your league mates here by getting those waiver claims in early. So making sure you're joining us in the chat, we can answer those questions. And we will just see you all next week. Good luck in week 2, everyone.